The long-awaited trailer for Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of Frank Herbert's classic sci-fi epic Dune may have gotten us excited, but will it live up to the novel that inspired it? If you've seen the Dune trailer and are like us, your jaw will be on the floor. The trailer for director Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of the classic sci-fi novel was astonishing, with an all-star cast, stunning visuals, Jason Momoa's glorious hair, and what looks like an authentic retelling of the book. But will it be? On paper, it seems to check off a lot of boxes, but adapting this monster of a novel is no easy feat. Just ask Jodorowsky or Lynch, and has given studios a huge headache in the past. Not only is its future sci-fi setting a technical challenge, but it's packed full of details, unique characters, and an established mythology and deep lore that runs throughout. This means that things that make it so popular are the same things that make it so difficult. But director Denis Villeneuve has a good track record with reimagining popular sci-fis, with his sequel to Ridley Scott's Blade Runner 2049, being a mainstream success. But can lightning strike twice for the director? In this video, we'll take another look at the trailer and all the news surrounding the movie, and weigh up whether or not the new movie can live up to its promises and make an astounding sci-fi epic that respects the source material as well as its fans. So get ready to put on your still suit and watch out for monstrous sandworms as we take a trek through the arid desert of Arrakis and the beautiful yet dangerous world of Dune. And beware of mild spoilers. For all of you who don't know, the novel Dune by author Frank Herbert is one of the most popular pieces of sci-fi of all time, and spawned an entire series dedicated to the intricate world created within the book. While it is known for its sci-fi aspects, it breaks out of the confines of genre labels, being in part a coming-of-age story, as well as a piece of philosophy and spirituality, and a warning about the dangers of climate change. Themes which are still relevant to today, and part of the reason it's remained so popular. Set in the distant future, the story is set in the backdrop of an interstellar feudal system under the rulership of the Padishah Emperor Shaddam IV, with the leadership of planets run by great houses. One of these houses is House Atreides, led by the patriarch Duke Leto, played by Oscar Isaac in the movie, alongside with his concubine Lady Jessica, Rebecca Ferguson, and son Paul, Timothée Chalamet. Paul has a series of bizarre visions and dreams involving a mysterious girl, Chani, played by Zendaya, and seemingly has some sort of supernatural gift. The Emperor orders Duke Leto and House Atreides to leave their home on Caladan to run the harvesting of the drug melange, colloquially known as spice, on the arid, barren, and sparsely populated planet of Arrakis, also known as Dune. The planet of Dune is mostly desert and has a rich and deep culture, and is home to the Fremen people, a mysterious semi-nomadic group led by Javier Bardem's Stilgar, who live deep in the desert. As House Atreides integrate themselves in the world of Arrakis, they quickly find themselves the target of a fatal plot conspired by the depraved Baron Harkonnen, played by Stellan Skarsgård, and end up in a fight for survival to keep their family alive. We are just brushing the surface of the main plot, but as we don't want to spoil it for any non-book readers, we'll leave it here. The book was initially published in 2 separate serials, and its content is vast, with a deep and rich history, and it's this vivid lore that has made it so difficult to adapt for the big screen that could be contained in a limited runtime. But is all that about to change? The upcoming adaptation for director Denis Villeneuve certainly isn't the first, and may not even be the last. The first attempt was by cult movie director Alejandro Jodorowsky, who unsuccessfully tried to adapt the 1965 novel in the mid-70s. His attempt was so infamous that a documentary was released in 2013 showcasing the director's plans for the movie and how his unsuccessful adaptation came to pass. The book was adapted into a miniseries in 2000, but other adaptations have spent most of the time in limbo ever since the book's release. The book was, however, adapted into movie form in 1984 by master of surrealism David Lynch, director of works such as Twin Peaks and Mulholland Drive. Lynch was strongly linked with directing Return of the Jedi, so it was no surprise that he got a second bite of the cherry directing the sci-fi epic Dune. While Lynch is a great director with many classics under his belt, his adaptation of Dune is somewhat controversial. With some great moments, it's been criticized for its expositional voiceover and dialogue, its non-serious tone, and while it was comparable to Star Wars, it was seen as the anti-Star Wars. But its main criticism from fans was how much it deviated from the book, not just tonally. While it did have great visuals and somewhat fitting costume design, it seemingly brushed aside the mythos of the novel and felt somewhat detached from its source material. Will Denis Villeneuve's movie make the same mistakes? From what everyone attached to the movie is saying, the answer to that question sounds like no. While we haven't seen too much footage, what we could take from the trailer is that it looks like it's taken directly from the book. There was almost no question that this movie would look stunning, with Villeneuve teaming up with Rogue One cinematographer Greg Fraser, who is also working on the upcoming Batman movie, and the shots look sensational. This is in part due to the use of filming on location and practical effects. Actor Timothée Chalamet said that he only recorded 2 scenes in front of a green screen, with the rest being practical effects, and Villeneuve emphasized the importance of shooting in an actual desert in Jordan, saying that it would serve as additional inspiration. This was seconded by Rebecca Ferguson, who stated that she was in awe of the desert and how it seemingly swallowed nature whole. But most importantly, the world of Dune looks like it was carefully created, and early images look exactly as described in the book, such as the still suits, ornithopters, and of course, giant, monstrous sandworms. Villeneuve seems to have brilliantly brought not only his vision to life, but the vision of fans as well. The movie has a star-studded cast, with almost every member being a household name, but it's not just the fact that they are big-name actors that make them well-casted, but rather they all seem like the perfect embodiment of the cast. Example, Chalamet, who looks young but has a deep sense of wisdom to him. The only one who arguably doesn't seem perfectly cast is Josh Brolin as Gurney Halleck, and that's only because he's described in the book as being one of the ugliest men in the universe, and that's rather unfair on Brolin. The Jordan Desert certainly can pass for the dunes of Arrakis, and has a menacing and dangerous presence to it. Scenes in the trailer look like they were pulled straight out of the book word for word, such as the box scene, which also made me think of the what's in the box scene from Seven, and this is a promising sign. Although some moments in the trailer do look like they take a different direction to the novel, such as one involving Jason Momoa's dunk in Idaho, but we're straying into spoiler territory there. Lovers of the book will also have noticed several Easter eggs and important scenes scattered throughout as well, which will certainly fill them with joy. But as we mentioned, it may look all well and good, but the book is so rich and can be hard to unpack in one movie. Villeneuve did say that he would only do the movie if it was split into 2, and while it hasn't been officially announced yet, it does seem like there will be a Dune sequel. But even then, can the movie live up to the book? It's almost impossible to appease every fan, and some people will outright say that no movie adaptation can live up to a book. But it sounds like Villeneuve is certainly trying his hardest. Villeneuve has stated that this is a passion project for him, and that he's been a huge fan of the book since he first read it at age 15. Furthermore, he said that he's straying from the other adaptations, and that he's building off images he had when he read the book, although that is admittedly somewhat subjective. Members of the cast stated that Villeneuve would constantly reference the book and use it as his guide, referring to the characters as they were portrayed in the novel. Villeneuve also sought to pull the key themes of the novel, such as global warming and the overexploitation of Earth, as well as keeping true to its coming-of-age story and rich history. Villeneuve also described the making of this novel as the Star Wars movie he would want to see, and that this is basically Star Wars for an older audience, meaning that it will have the same level of grandiose as the Star Wars movies, but a more mature theme. But this doesn't mean that Villeneuve didn't want to branch off from the book at all. One of the things that he sought to do was to prevent the primary antagonist, Baron Harkonnen, from being a caricature, but instead a complex villain with complicated motives, and early glimpses of the character are somewhat reminiscent of Marlon Brando's Kurtz in Apocalypse Now. One thing that is unclear is how far they'll go with the Baron, with him having some quite dark moments in the novel, which may be too risque for the big screen. Villeneuve also updated some character arcs for the modern world, especially with the movie's female characters. An example of this is Sharon Duncan Brewster's character, ecologist Liette Kynes, who is actually a man in the book. It's still unclear how deep the movie or movies will go into the lore of the novel, such as the Bene Gesserit, and if it will right the arguable wrongs of Lynch's movie. There will, however, be a prequel series, Dune: Sisterhood, released on HBO Max that will focus on the Bene Gesserit, with Villeneuve returning to direct the pilot, although it's unclear how that will tie in with the movie. As of right now though, the trailer is showing us the right things, and Villeneuve and co are saying the right things, and they are promising a lot with this movie. The bar is high. but Villeneuve seems to have no issue trying to jump it. He stated that if this movie was to fail, then he would rather be the one that was captain of the ship and not someone else. But so far, this movie has a lot going for it. It looks stunning. The world looks in keeping with the novel. The cast is insanely stacked. It's made by a fan, and most importantly, it was made with the book always in mind. So, while we shouldn't get too ahead of ourselves, it may be safe to have a feeling of optimism that this movie will indeed live up to its novel predecessor. What did you make of the trailer? Are you excited for the movie? And most importantly, do you think it will live up to the book? Let us know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to Screenrant for all things Dune.